Despite the exciting advertisement for this event, I was initially not going to bother making a specific video about Lithuanian Armed Forces Day, or Lietuvos Kariuomenės Diena. It seemed like a relatively straightforward thing, an annual parade to commemorate the establishment/founding of the Lithuanian Armed Forces, something that happened on November 23rd, 1918. I think big events like these are typically well covered anyways, and people tend to get the best views by watching it on television. But I guess I changed my mind, and I thought I would at least share with you my experience of the day, well, perhaps more of the night before, with some behind the scenes footage. The big November 23rd event was the huge parade on Vilnius' Konstitucijos Prospektas. To have such a big event requires a lot of space, and so on the day prior, on November 22nd, military vehicles were all lined up along Upės gatvė, which translates to River Street. I can't remember what I was doing the day before the event, but I guess I was too busy to check out all the preparation activities happening. The local media was all over it though, and so I guess that inspired me to check things out later in the night. I walked down to the river and Upės gatvė to hopefully catch some activity, and I was certainly not disappointed. It looked like this riverside road was the staging area and all the vehicles were lined up preparing to rehearse the event. In the dark you could see, and certainly smell, heavy armored vehicles and tanks slowly driving into position. It was cold that night, like 0 or 1. It doesn't seem cold when you think that the coldest winter days in Lithuania can be -20, but there really is something about the humidity that can make -1 feel worse. It's actually a scientific fact. If the layer of air next to the skin is damp, it takes more body heat energy to warm it. Anyways, I mention this because I was definitely feeling for the soldiers who were more exposed to the cold, particularly the ones who had to sit motionless on those ATVs. While I think the marching soldiers didn't have to be out until later, anyone riding in or on a vehicle seemed to be sitting around for an hour or two. It was certainly cool to see forces from all over Europe. Assuming they were from the NATO Enhanced Forward Presence Battle Group in Lithuania, the forces and equipment would have been from Belgium, Croatia, Czech Republic, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and Norway. And of course with Germany being the framework nation leading this multinational force. Oh yeah, and of course Lithuania being the host nation. American forces were there too, but I think they're separate from the NATO battle group. I'm not totally sure on this. Anyways, promotional material from the event says this about the equipment. Viewers will be able to see over 100 pieces of military equipment. Vilkas infantry fighting vehicles of the Lithuanian Armed Forces, PZH-2000 self-propelled howitzers, NASAMS air defense system, Joint Light Tactical Vehicles, Abrams main battle tanks, Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, and the Paladin self-propelled howitzers brought by American allies, Leopard tanks of the Bundeswehr, Puma and Marder infantry fighting vehicles, and many others. I'm not sure if I saw all of these during my walk around, since I can't recognize all military equipment, but I know that the vehicles that really stuck out to me at first sight that night were the Leopard tanks from the Germans. Certainly, without any context, all of this had the possibility of probably being a little bit of a distressing sight. Tanks and other military equipment rolling through the streets of Vilnius, with the rehearsal part taking place without any parade music or announcements, and relatively few crowds. It definitely looked, for lack of a better term, dystopic. It's one thing to know that this is a peaceful event, but it's another thing to have emotions pulled from past memories. And so as I watched all these vehicles slowly getting into position for the rehearsal drive, I was left wondering if any Lithuanians who were alive and aware in January 1991 would have had traumatic flashbacks seeing something like this. Hopefully not, but it was just something that crossed my mind. Whatever the case may be, it was just a really fascinating scene, like something out of a movie. It's certainly not something you see every day. Eventually though, the vehicles drove up to Konstitucijos Prospektas and positioned themselves behind platoons of soldiers standing in formation. I then walked up to the main presentation area, where all the VIPs would be sitting, and I watched them rehearse what they would be doing for the very next day. Seeing all the preparations definitely made me want to attend, and so the next day I headed out with my wife to check out the actual event. The night before I didn't see many American soldiers or vehicles, but on the day of the event I saw them lined up with their armored vehicles, taking photos with the crowds just before the event kicked off. I thought that was a nice gesture, certainly good for public relations. We stuck around to see the troops march past, as well as the drive past of many vehicles, but then it felt like it was time to go home. It was at this time that my wife was 8 months pregnant, and so she could walk around well enough, but standing in the cold was far less comfortable for her. She was a really good sport and joined me for almost all of the event. What we didn't know was that the event would end with a fly past of some aircraft. So as we walked away, we could see the planes in the distance. I'll try and find the official footage and put it here for you to see, but I have to say I'm a little sad that I didn't get to see it for myself. But ultimately, it was a really cool event to witness, and I'm glad I live close enough to be able to just walk over. I guess the cool thing for me is that I live here, and so if I miss one annually recurring event one year, I still have a chance to see it the next year without much trouble. Of course, I'm not sure if the event looks the exact same every year, but I guess I'll find out on November 23rd, 2024. And maybe I can bring my almost 1-year-old son too. So have you ever been to a Lietuvos Kariuomenės Diena parade? Or any other big military parade like this? And what do you think of these kinds of events? Let me know by leaving a comment. For the Lithuanian word of the day, let's go with kariuomenė, which means military. Kariuomenė. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.